So welcome back to Coaching Journey 1. And we're on to week 5 already. Just want to say thank you to everybody again who's engaging and sharing the videos. It's great to see that coaches are taking one or two things from each video. So thank you again for supporting what we're doing. And just glad that everybody's enjoying it. So week 5, can't believe we're already here. You know, it's flew past the first 4 or 5 weeks now. It's another full week sandwiched between 2 big games. So we're going to start off the video by talking about the performance review of Everton and how that went and some of the problems that we had to deal with. Then going to look at the 3 sessions. So building the attack, defending the space in the box, and we'll explain why we're doing that. And then we're going to start to introduce a couple of attacking corners. And then we're going to have a little look at the Middlesbrough game plan. So let's have a look at the Everton performance plan. We'll start off with just a brief overview of what the game plan looked like. If you haven't seen the full in-depth game plan, make sure you check out last week's video. The description will be down below. But we was going to Everton playing out of a 4-3-3, moving into a 3-4-3 or a 2-3-2-3. This depended on what personnel we had on the pitch or how Everton was playing. So we was ready to adapt. But when we're talking about the 3-4-3 and a 2-3-2-3, they are natural movements of our players. So looking at the team identity and targets after the game. So we thought we'd put this at the start of the review, just to give you an idea of how the game went. And then what we'll do is we'll go into the performance review and how the game looked after the targets. So just looking at the defensive transition. So their target was 60% plus, and we're looking to regain the ball back in 3 passes. And we hit a score of 65%. So we hit our target. So credit to the players yet again. What I would say is this was a lot higher in the early parts of the game. We just started to fade as it went on. That could be due to us running out a bit of steam because we only had a small squad, or credit to Everton because physically they were a little bit more dominant as the game went on. Looking at defensive organisation, so again 60% plus. We're looking to regain the ball in the top 2/3, and the score was 79%. So great score. You know, that gives us a clear idea that we're quite organised when we're working in a medium to high block. What I would say is there was a couple of performance problems within this that cost us a few goals, which we'll go over later in the video. But again, a great score from the players. Looking at the attacking transition, so we're underneath that 60% on this one. And we're looking to get that 3rd pass completion. And I keep saying it now, we usually have a 2nd pass completion rather than a 3rd. But what we're trying to get our team to do is try to get control of the ball when we've won it, instead of it being end to end and always working in the transition. And then looking at the attacking organisation, we haven't put a target yet to this, but me and the coaches have still got an idea of what this looks like. And I would say early parts of the game would have been probably around 70%. And then as the game sort of went on, we'd probably drop to about 50%. But just gives you a good idea of where we was at the end of the game. And we were happy with it. You know, it's only the 2nd game of the season, and Everton were a tough, strong team. So for us to even tick 2 out of the 4, you know, it just shows that we're still progressing. So we're happy with that. So looking at the performance review then. So first thing we want to talk about is the systems of play. So it was a 4-3-3 against a 4-2-3-1, what we expected. So us being the whites and them being the blue. Because of the system matchup, we found the mark and changed the mark really well. you know, which the players are used to now. They understand that language and what we're going after. So whenever the ball was turned over, we were quite quick at finding our mark, and the understanding, especially in the top 2/3 of changing the mark, was excellent. The only thing that happened now and again was that Everton had some big physical players, so they would break free of their mark sometimes, but something that we're not too fussed about as long as they're finding and changing the mark well, because as time goes on, we'll physically get a little bit bigger. When looking at our squad, we've got 9 players who are Q3, Q4, so we're young in our age group. So physically, we're still catching up. But as long as they're doing the right things, and we keep making it clear to the players that, you know, you've done the right thing, you know, what can we do a little bit better to try help you deal with that physical duel, but still understanding that they've done the right thing and sometimes they can't help it. So having a look at the attacking organisation. So especially in the early parts of the game, the 2 fullbacks sort of played off the shoulder of their 2 wide forwards, which then allowed us to get control with a 3v1. We did this really, really well in the early parts of the game, and we got control. We pinned back Everton's back line with a 3 with specific movements, which was good. The 8 and 10 were disciplined and playing on the outside shoulders of the 2 older midfielders, so causing them a problem as well. And then the two fullbacks were really good in the early parts by winning the space down the side and inside. So this is what the picture would look like. So the 4 was occupying the opposite side to the ball. And because they were sort of a man-to-man system in midfield, this sort of created space for our fullback to come in on the inside or down the outside, depending on what their wide forward was doing when pressing. But we got control of the game in the early part, and this was good to see. And we created some good chances. Probably should have gone 1 or 2-0 up. We did eventually go 1-0 up, but we should have put a couple more goals on top of that. But that was something that sort of pleased us and we're happy with throughout the game. Looking at defensive organisation, control. So looking back at the stats, you know, with high 70s on winning the ball in the middle and top third. So we did this quite well. We controlled where Everton played and when we won the ball back. So it was good to see. So we forced the play and pressed very well. And again, if you look at our game plan from the last video, if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. The description's below. But you'd understand that we were forcing the ball or trying to force the ball to the left centre back. We also explained the reasons why that we do that. But we pressed well from here, so we cut out that direct pass. So we forced Everton to use the link passes, or a couple of times in the game, the chip the ball over, which allowed our fullback to jump then and change the mark. And then we come round really quick and dealt with Everton trying to play through us. The midfield was locked on the inside shoulders and stopped them from turning, so that was good. And we won the ball on that first initial pass quite a lot. So very good from the team. Even when the 9 was on the opposite side, we still pressed in the same manner and we were still successful. So that was good to see as well. A performance problem which caught us out. Actually, we conceded a goal from building the attack later in the game. What Everton did is that they'd changed their high pressing structure and we just didn't adjust. So what they did is, I'll just show you now. So their 7-11 pushed a little bit higher onto our 2 centre backs, so they could get there on the first pass, but also try and encourage our keeper to clip it into the full backs. And they went lopsided, so the left back became part of a back 3 and they pushed on the right back. So they were man for man in this half of the pitch. What we didn't do is we didn't recognise as a team to adjust within the game. Because we'd got into a rhythm, we were just playing out and we're looking for the same patterns. You it was something that we recognised on the side, but wanted to see if the players would adapt and adjust. And unfortunately, I think it was on the second time they played out in the quarters and then went and scored, which isn't a problem. It's just something that highlights that we need to work on. So we need to make sure that we're doing more sessions around when we're building the attack, that we change the opposition structure without telling our team. So trying to get our team to recognise when to adjust, and maybe just getting the keeper to hold on to the ball a little bit longer and have a look at what the opposition are doing. So it's just a performance problem. It's something that we need to work on the training ground. What we would say is in a year or so, our keeper will be able to do this. He's not too far off it now, but it's making sure that our keeper's mindset is, if you can play in beyond or onto their defensive line with equal numbers, then we need to be doing that. But I think we just got into a rhythm of just playing out and getting control, and we lost sight of that longer one. But again, it's difficult for our keeper to reach them sort of areas right now. What we should have done is we should have recognised to drop the two fullbacks down the side to get control. So the two centre backs could occupy these three, and then the two fullbacks come down the side. What that then does is that creates a bigger distance between the fullbacks on this side and their left centre midfielder and our fullback. So we're asking them a question now. So we're giving them another problem to solve. If they don't press, you've got the 2v1s either side. If they do press, you could play out quickly and then play it onto the defensive line. So it shortens that distance of playing longer. So we're not expecting our keeper to clip the ball, 70 metres. But this is something that we should have adjusted as the game was going on. And that just gives you the idea there that if they do jump, we can then play out and then get it into these two areas here. And then performance problem 2. So when we're talking about the organisation, and sometimes in the defensive transition, this was just an example of Everton scoring a goal in the last minute or so. And what had happened is we'd gone into the defensive transition, won the ball, we'd exchanged 2 passes, and then we lost the physical duel here. And then as they won it, they just played the ball straight over the top, and there was in. The keeper's positioning wasn't too bad, and the centre-back's position wasn't too bad. But we just couldn't deal with that physicality of the 9. He was a big, strong, powerful 9. So as soon as he set off in the foot race, we were in trouble. So this was another performance problem that we had to deal with. And a couple of times when we're organising, Everton went long, we just couldn't deal with the big, strong 9. So again, it's just another problem that we need to work on. So when looking at our centre-back, some of the key notes is, one centre-back always at touching distance of the forward. So even when we're building, can one of our centre-backs be at touching distance? So when the ball turns over, can they get close to the mark quicker? We also talked about winning the duel early. So if the centre-back can get touching distance, and before they shape the ball over the top, can they shove and move the attacker before the ball comes to try give them a better chance in a foot race? And then the last thing is trying to run across the line of the centre forward, so they have to go around you. So these was just a couple of bits of detail that we've talked to the centre backs about after the game, because they did find it hard. They said it was difficult because when they got tight, physically could spin him. When they stayed off him, he was quick to get that run on him. So just a couple of little pointers that we wanted to help them with. And then something for them to think about: are you in a position to affect your mark or the space when the ball is turned over? So something that we want to get them thinking about all the time. Because till we get into the later parts of the season, we're physically not going to be there with with us being Q3s and Q4s. So we need to be clever and brighter on how to deal with this sort of stuff. So when you look back at the stats, we were high on the defensive transition, which was good. And we were very high on the defensive organisation, but we couldn't deal with this physically, which cost us a goal late in the game. So moving on to week 5. So everybody who's been watching the journey so far will be familiar with this screen. So throughout the week, we have 3 sessions with multiple practices within that. And then we'll start to look at the game plan against Middlesbrough. And we have started to introduce the attacking organisation this week as well. So session 1 focused around building the attack. So in this first practice, we're just looking at the performance wheel in possession. So looking at the technical base of the players. If you don't know what the performance wheels are, check out video 1 for a more in-depth look at the performance wheels in and out of possession. And the description's below, so you can check that out now. So looking at the practice outcomes, we're looking at scanning, moving, receiving, releasing. And this is all unopposed. So we're just wanting to drive the player's detail and speed of play. So match day +2, work for 16 minutes. It's a medium load. Work for 3 minutes, rest for 1. We'll do that 4 times because we change the passing sequence as we go through. Medium size area. And we had 2 of these areas set up so the players were getting more touches. So just looking at the video. So in here, we're looking at little double movements. The 2 will move the ball out, which triggers the movements. And then we're looking for a pass beyond the mannequin. So there we're looking at the detail. So timing of the movement, arrive at the same time as the ball. And then we're looking at the body shape. So body shape to receive the ball. And then a real tight first touch. Once they do that, same again, we're looking at double movements in here. And then we're looking at a quick 1-2 around the mannequin. So we're looking at their releasing skills with 1 touch. Again, that little bit of movement before to create the space. And then we're looking at that 1-2. Body shape again from the 3 to then play into the space. As the ball works its way back, looking at the same thing, but working the opposite way. So again, if we're looking at the performance wheel, scan, can they see the ball? Can they see the next move? The movements, so again, we're working beyond the mannequin, but we're still working a double move. And then you're looking at receiving skills, again, just a nice open body to progress. And then that releasing skill, so the detail, make your pass playable. So now just a different movement. So they're in front of the mannequin and then they're going to move backwards as they're receiving the ball. Anybody who's been watching the journey will understand that. I think this is a really important receiving skill, moving backwards while taking the ball and not stopping when you receive it. Be nice and smooth. One of the bits of the detail we did put in here is, can the play to the furthest foot from the mannequin? So in this scenario here, the player will be bouncing the ball 1 touch with the right foot. And then on the opposite side, it'll be the left foot. So they're working both feet in this drill. Again, the movement, little check to the side, and then moving backwards while receiving the ball, making sure this is smooth. Little 1-2, left foot, around, speed of play. And then looking at the third movement. So the player is beyond and then comes below. And then bounces the ball. And then a little movement to win the back of the mannequin. So again, below, bounce a play, round the back, and win the back, and then looking to release the ball into an area for the player to arrive on. And then the last pattern, again, that movement where they go from beyond, below, release the ball first time, and then we're looking at the third man pass. And one thing that we should have probably put in, we could have put a couple of little gates here on either side, so the players have got a target to aim for. And then the little challenge would be to play through the gate and then the arriving player to arrive at the same time. So it just up that sort of challenge for the players. But with this drill, it's just about working the technique and the performance wheel here when moving into building the attack. So practice 2, little phase of play, 8v6. White's objective is to build and scoring one of the 3 mini goals on the halfway line. They can build any way that they want. So again, we're giving players that ownership of just trying to build and find different ways through. The Reds, they've got to play below this confrontation line. Once the Whites get across the confrontation line, then it's an open game. So Reds will be working in a medium block to start with. So the first thing we're looking and observing at is, if you're looking at the performance wheel over here, so the practice outcomes, we're looking at the shape. So what's the shape look like? Are we happy with that? We're looking at supporting angles. So what types of movements are going on ahead of the ball? The speed of play, especially from these 3 when they're unopposed. So are we moving the ball across the pitch quickly to stretch the opposition? And then the supply. So what does the supply look like? Is the detail right when we're playing through? Is the combination play good enough for us to score a goal? So just little different combos, trying to get the players to fix the space and then find the free player. Again, this was more player-led. Just wanted them to go and play what they see. And then we'd drip feed some little conditions. So one of the conditions that we said to the Whites here is, can they play within 2 seconds? If they play down one side, can we try to attack down the other side? So just getting the centre-backs to think about this and try and encourage them to move the ball quickly. In the second part of the game, we allowed the Reds to high press. So going back to that performance problem of Everton, we then just said to the Reds in the second game, go and press how you want from the start. And then we started to manage the Reds more to cause these problems. And the players were good. They adjusted well. The keeper was patient. So he held the ball, had a look to see what the Reds would play, and then they tried to find a way out. Again, we didn't give them any specific ways of playing out. We were just more focused about movements from the full back and the 4, and then giving them an understanding of how to find the free player. So overall, it was a good session. And then over the weeks, we want to try and make this so it's like an overload again. So you might play out against an 8v9 to really stress the players out. But for now, we're still working on the techniques and trying to get the players to think correctly under pressure and adapt to what the opposition are doing. So session 2 is out of possession. And this was something that we wanted to focus on around the performance problem against Everton of dealing with the space. So looking at practice 1, we started off with SSGs, protecting the space beyond. So like I've just said, when you're thinking back to the Everton game where we were struggling to deal with runners beyond, we felt that we'd just put on a little practice and then try to give the players some ideas of how to deal with this. So the practice details here, if you want to have a look at that. It's preparation, so it's match day +4. We work for 16 minutes. It's a high practice load. We work for 3, rest for 1. Did that ×4. It's a small area, so it's physically demanding. So it's short, sharp, twisting and turning. And it's a 3v3 +1, so it is a difficult drill. But again, we're just trying to stress the players out and really get them to understand of how to help them deal with anything going in beyond. The outcomes: scan, move, dictate, defend. So we're looking at more the individual than a collective in this drill. So like I just said there, 3v3 +1 with 2 end zones. So the team in possession get the +1, which then makes it difficult for the team out of possession. So when do they change the mark? When do they stay with a runner? Now, the team in possession are not allowed to dribble it into the end zone, so they've got to find a pass. I'm just going to give you an example here. So the free player plays into the end zone and the white arrives in there at the same time. So they're not allowed to be in there before the ball's passed, so it's classed as offside. So that's what a point looks like. They'll just stop the ball and the opposition will get it and they'll play. So now it's a 4v3 against the whites. And this is what we're looking at here. So these moments here. So defending the inside. So can they see the ball? Can they see the danger? So we're looking at their body shape, and then we're looking at their footwork to adjust in relation to the ball and the attacker. And then we're looking at the dictate. So how can they deny and deflect, defend this area here? So a couple of little things is can you win the duel early? So try to maybe move the attacker before the free player plays the ball. Can we run across the line of them? So they have to go around us. So these were some of the details that we talked to the players about. But making sure that they work on the inside. Again, just movements of stopping them from playing in the end zone. So it gives you an idea of what the practice is, and it is physically demanding, and you're trying to keep the players switched on for 16 minutes is hard in this, but you get a feeling of what the players can do when under pressure and when they're fatigued. What we actually did do as the session went on, we actually narrowed off the end zone. So the attacking team had to go more central, which was probably a little bit more realistic to the game. So we did that in the second 2 games. Then just moving on to a little practice around protecting the box. So the players were quite fatigued from that last drill. Again, we just wanted to stress them out, put them in scenarios of how they deal with it. We kept the numbers equal. So the practice details here. Same practice outcome, so it was more focused around the individual and a little bit of connection work now. And then the same thing, so 20 minutes drill, it's a high practice load. The area size is slightly bigger. So how the drill works. Whites are defending this bottom goal. Reds are looking to score in the big goal. So one player dribbles out and passes the ball around the penalty spot into the attacker, and you've got a 1v1. Now, if whites win it, they can score in the mini goals. That's including the keeper. Reds get it, they're just trying to score in a big goal. As soon as a goal scored or the ball goes dead, another white dribbles in, passes to a next attacker, and the 2 players who are involved in the 1v1 stay in the game. It's now a 2v2. So this is where you can get your little connections, little communication, but still not moving away from this performance outcomes here. So how are they moving? What's the body shape like? Are they forcing the play? How are they denying, deflecting, defending this? And what are the tackles like? Are they blocking it? Are they winning the ball cleanly? Are they maintaining possession when they've got it? Again, when they've got it, it's like a 3v2. You don't want the keeper dribbling out. So, because you'll get that with your players or keepers will start dribbling out. So what we started to do is limit the keeper to 3 touches. And then same thing now, next player comes out, plays it in. The players that were involved in the 1v1, 2v2 stay on the pitch, and then it becomes a 3v3. So now you can start to go on about units, so you can go on about pressing and covering. Work for 4 minutes, so just keep working it now. So repeat game. Just make sure that they change their order. So if someone went first and was involved in all 3 games, make sure they go last next time. Let the players manage that. After 4 minutes work, then we just swapped them over. So both teams got a feel of defending and attacking. And then for the last 2 games, we made it competitive. So just little forfeits for the losing team. Session 3, pre-match practice. So this is the last practice before Middlesbrough. So I wanted to give the players an idea and a setup around attacking corners. And we only looked at one variation. And this is more suited to half and half and zonal marking. So what we wanted to do is just see how this would work against Middlesbrough. We've explained to the players it's not about this game. You know, we know this is going to take time, you know, to get right. But we've got to focus around making sure that we finally tune all these types of things for Christmas. So then the back end of the season, when we're in cup competitions, we want to be trying to get this right. So we just started the practice off. Obviously, it's match day +5. We only work for 10 minutes. It's a medium load. We just work straight through because when we're stopping it or between each set player, we're giving them some details. It's a large area because it's half a pitch. And all we did was set up some cones of where the starting point was for the players. So just to give you an idea. So the 10 will go short to the corner. So the corner's on this side. So the 10 will go short and just give a slight angle so they can open the body up. The 8 will work double movements and then exploit the edge of the 18-yard box. The 2, now usually the best headers of the ball, will go and work the back stick, and the 9 will just screen the keeper. 2 on the edge, ready to arrive late, and then you've got your protection. Now, what we did with the 2 players here, we just got them to work with the 5 and 6. So 2 would work and 2 would rest. And we just got them working the same movement, so everybody was involved. Same thing if we had like more midfielders, we just had 1 staying on the cone and resting, and then same with the corners, just keep players rotating. So you can actually get a good sweat on doing it while working through the pattern. So these are the arriving zones. So the ball goes short, and then we're looking for this player to get within the 10 yards. So if someone tracks him, they can't go that close. So it's a short, sharp pass. And then we're looking at the corner taker to just move along the line, depending on where the opposition's defensive line is. So if they push out slightly, can they go and get in line? But usually when the 9's in here, someone will stay pinned in and around trying to protect the keeper. The 8 arriving into this area here. And then this is where we've got multiple options. So can they deliver it back stick? Or move the ball into the 7 who's sneaking in behind their line. And then one of the players on the edge arriving for the pullback. If it is open and they take a touch and no one's tracked them, then take a touch and get a shot on goal. And then again, just looking at the 9 to slide off, and then multiple options. Just showing you there. So the idea behind the set plays is like it's a set structure, but there's multiple ways to deal with different scenarios. So once the players get used to the routine, they should have options to deal with each scenario within the game. We then moved on to a little transition game. So first game, each player had a partner on the opposite team. They could tackle anybody, but if their partner scored, they had to do a little forfeit. And then it was just trying to get the players to think about finding the mark within 3 seconds, recognising when to change the mark. So is somebody in a better position or in more of a dangerous position than your mark? And this was just to get the players switched on for the weekend's game. Just showing you here. It was a good little drill. Challenged the players, and it was really competitive. And then again, it just sort of brings out the practice outcomes that we want: press, find the mark, change the mark, and then defend. We did 4 rounds of this and rest for 1. We actually did it 6 times. So it was a good run out before the game. So now looking at the game plan for Middlesbrough, and what you'll find is we don't adjust these too much, especially in the early stages, because we're trying to get the team to work in a specific way. We don't want to change the message too much on a weekly basis. There will be things that we attach to the game plan or things that we adjust in relation to the opposition. And I can say now, because we're a couple of weeks in front of the actual videos being posted, in the next 2 games after this, we've had to adjust and we've had to do different things, and we've had different performance problems. So the game plan will change to the opposition. But for now, Middlesbrough, we're going to go work out of a 4-3-3 again, moving into a 3-4-3, 2-3-2-3. Can we sort of progress from what it looked like against Everton? So can we be a bit cleaner and crisper when we're moving between the systems? So team identity and targets. So for anybody who's been watching the journey, you'll understand that our main target is to impose our identity on the opposition in 4 areas. First one's defensive transition. Language is press. Nearest players apply quick pressure, 1, 2, or 3, player-led. Got a target of 60% plus, so we're sticking with that 60% for now, and we're looking to regain within 3 passes. If we can't do that, we stop the opposition from playing forward. Over the next couple of weeks, we start to up this target. Defensive organisation, which we've been really good at so far in the first 2 games. So the language is compact vertically and horizontally, 40 by 44. Looking at a 60% target again, we're looking to regain the ball back in the top 2/3. Attacking transition, available. So we're looking at 3 options when we win the ball. 60% target again, and we're going to stick with a 3rd pass completion. Want to see if we can hit that for this game. What we'll say is over the next couple of weeks, we're going to change that to a 2nd pass completion and up the targets with the rest of them. And then for the first time in the season, we're actually giving the players a target within the attacking organisation. So the language is connect. So we're looking at 3 connections, and we're looking to do that in 3 seconds. We're only allowing one player to be out the shape. So I'll explain that a little bit more in the videos. So defensive transition, again, I'll just use the videos that we've been using because I don't want to use I don't want to get into trouble with the club that I'm working at by using some of the videos. But this is just a reminder. So I'm just going to give you an example here. So when a ball's turned over, so they've just lost the ball, nearest players press 1, 2, or 3. Surrounding players finding the mark. Okay, and we're looking to try win that ball back within the 3 passes. So it just gives you an idea. Defensive organisation, so we're always reminding the players of what that looks like. So a compact state. So making sure that we're compact vertically and horizontally. These are just videos that the players can keep relating to. I know anybody who's been watching the journey will be familiar with this, but hopefully it's getting clearer and clearer every time you watch it, like the players. So looking at the changing the mark and pressing, so the 7 jumping and the fullback going. Now what we have started to do is we started to get clips of our team performing these actions, and we've started to put that on their program so they can have a look at that. So instead of it being an animation, it's actually a clip of us performing it. Same with the performance problems. If we're getting it wrong, what are the things that we need to do to make it better? Well, we've been really good in the defensive organisation, so us just drip feeding this every single week and them seeing it has been good. Second one, centre midfielder will go out. So the ball goes in, link pass, and the midfielder will go, and the 7 recovers. Again, just reminders for the players. And then the last one, which we haven't worked on yet, but again, the players are seeing it. So when we actually go and work on it, we're actually looking to press from the midfield area. So just looking at the attacking transition, I'll just quickly play a video again. Apologies if you've seen this a couple of times now. I'll just find. So this one's a counter attack. So they win the ball. So I know we're looking at that 3 pass completion, but we're not moving away from if we win it with counter, if it's on. So in this scenario here, they've won the ball. Decision's now to break and win the back of your opponent to try and get a shot off. So it's not just all about the 3 pass completion. It's getting the players to recognise when they can go forward. And we always talk about high impact, low risk. And then attacking organisation. So apologies for that, because that's 3 seconds now. So what we're saying is, and the reason why we're giving it three seconds is, so when we've won the ball, so you think back to the attacking transition. So we win the ball and we're giving them that challenge of 3 passes. So they've got the 3 passes plus the 3 seconds to get themselves into this system. And we're talking about the 3 connections. And the lead on the connections is the attacking midfielders. So they're communicating with a wide forward and fullback. The 9 will be high, and then the keeper will be in a supporting position. Now, what we'll allow for is 1 player to be out of the connection. So like the fullback might be, depending on the game, might be down here, or the 7 might be on the inside. So we're allowing for 1 player to be out the connection. So this will be the first time that we will be this is the first time we'll be focusing in on the connection work. It just gets the players to understand, right, now we've got control, am I connected? And then as we go through the next couple of weeks, we'll start to work on rotations on how to create space and hurt the opposition. But the first idea is just getting the players to connect. before we start to work on these rotations. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what that's looking like. Also within the attacking organisations, we are working with the players on individual specific goals and point system. And that's something that we'll present again, probably in the next couple of weeks, around what the players are focusing on. Performance plan. So again, just looking at building the attack and high press for now. That'll change over the coming weeks when we might have to look at creating and finishing the attack. We might have to look at working in a medium to low block. But for now, we're still focusing with this. Anyone who's familiar with the journey will understand that we always put a chart up for the players so they understand of finding the mark and changing the mark. If you're not familiar with this, just pause the video and have a read. But it's just a clear focus for the players when we're in the defensive transition and organisation. The players like it, because it's clear for them. So the high press, so again, anybody who's been watching it will understand this. We're going to keep forcing the ball to the left-hand side, and we explain the reasons why in the last video. So you haven't, make sure you check that out. We've got the roles and responsibilities of what we want here. And what the team have actually been doing well within the games is not just doing this when the keeper's got the ball, but when we've been in a defensive transition and we've forced the ball backwards, so it's in game. So doing this from a medium block, they've still been performing this high press really well. So I think I've mentioned it before, the trigger is just your 9. So as soon as a 9 starts to lock the play in, that's where we're looking to press. What we don't want them to do is just go and press and not be calculated on what's happening, because the opposition will just play through us. Again, it's just giving you that idea. And I know for the ones who've been watching the journey, it'll be quite repetitive seeing this, but we want you to be as clear as this is what we are. And because when you're in a game and you're managing or coaching, when this is happening in the game, you'll be able to see this, same as the players. And then building the attack, just variations. Over the next couple of weeks, we actually did vary this. But what we need to really get after is the players understanding when to stay in their traditional shape and when to do this. So one of the little things that we spoke to the keeper about is just holding onto the ball and just having a look before releasing it, instead of just sort of getting into a habit of just playing out quickly. So just hold onto the ball, get yourself into the middle area and have a look. Unless he sees an opportunity to exploit their back line or a counter-attack. But we've said collect the ball, be calm. As they're walking back to the centre, have a look at the opposition, how they're setting up. Is it different from the first time or the second time? Key point is, have they changed it after half time? So as soon as we restart the game into the second half, it's key that they have a look there, because they might have tweaked something at half time. And again, we'll just keep showing the players this, and we've got a couple of videos of us doing it now. We've actually got a couple of us failing as well. So the players recognise that they need to adjust. And these are just performance problems which we'll try to recreate in the games. Something that we've not really worked on too much about with the little 1-2 with the keeper and winning the back. But we'll eventually get to that. And if you do want to read the roles and responsibilities, just pause the video and have a read. So the last part of the game plan, we're just looking at the attacking corner that we run through in the session. What we do is we put the players on here with their initials, and they receive this the day before, so everybody knows what's expected. So it just gives you a clear idea of what we were doing. So we know who's going short, who the link player is, the players that are staying together and the ones who are protecting the space behind. Again, just making it clear for the players and what we're expected. This bit's really important, that the 10 gets on the half turn and plays in 2 seconds, and make sure that the play it really clean to the 11. The 11, it's important about arriving as late as possible. What you might come up against with this attacking corner is that the 11's got back pressure, so someone's man marking them. So they can release the ball back to the 10, and the 10 can deliver the ball. So like I said in the practice when we're doing it, it's multiple options. So there's many different ways to deal with how the opposition are set up. But one of the things that we see quite a bit, and I'm expecting it against Middlesbrough this weekend, if they're man for the 11, someone will probably track them if they don't get the movement right. But they still could play the ball around the corner for the 7, or set the 10 who can whip the ball in. But something to think about is your 10 might be a right footer, especially on this side, and you might change that on the other side so everything can be delivered first time. If the 11 gets on the half turn, then brilliant. You're looking at delivery at the back stick, touch and finish, or slipping in the 7. But this just gives the players an idea of what the roles and responsibilities are and what's expected. And like I've said, we don't expect this to come off in the first game. For us, it usually takes 2 or 3 training sessions to finally tune what we want to get, and a couple of games. So doing the practice under pressure. We have got another variation that we go through next week, which is set up for man-to-man. So week 6 coming next week. So we'll run through the performance review of Middlesbrough, like we have done for Everton. What I can say, it was an excellent game, and the players were on it in most areas. So it's going to be good to go through that and review that game and some of the performance problems again. Move on to session 1. So we're going with creating and finishing the attack, something that we've not touched on yet. We feel it's important to try get our forwards to understand of winning the space beyond and getting crosses into the box. Session 2 is UEFA Mentor Day. So we've got our mentor coming in and working with us around a specific topic, which we'll go through next week. And then we're going to look at the pre-match practice again. And then we're going to look at variation 2 of attacking set plays. So that'll be more around a man-to-man system. So the players have got a variation. And then we're moving on to game 4, which is against Hull City. Another tough game for different reasons. We know that looking at the videos that they play a different style to all the other teams that we've played. So again, it's going to cause us different problems to the other matches. So another great challenge and good for us to see how the players adapt against different styles and systems. Thank you again for watching week 5. It's great that people are watching the videos and giving us some feedback. If you're enjoying it, make sure that you press the notifications, you like the video, and share it with coaches that you know. Let's get as many people watching the videos and taking as much as they can from it. But most importantly, let's see what feedback that you can give. And if anybody is following the model or trying some of our work, let us know how it's going. And if there's something that you don't understand, just ask us a question. But thank you again. I'll see you next week.